All right, let's get into it. We're looking at a story that's right at the crossroads of all that AI hype and real-world cybersecurity. And let me tell you, things are not quite what they seem. This is a fantastic case study, really, in how even a malicious plan can have some pretty serious bugs.
So, our story kicks off with this tool called Claudebot. It was an AI personal assistant that created this massive buzz online. The promise was simple. It would just get stuff done for you. It hooks into your email, your calendar, your whole digital life.
You know, the hype was absolutely off the charts, and that made Claudebot the perfect bait. Because as we all know, wherever there's that much hype, you can bet cybercriminals are watching and waiting.
And sure enough, some threat actors jumped right on it. They whipped up a fake extension for Visual Studio Code, one of the most popular code editors on the planet. They called it the Claudebot agent, made it look all official, and just waited for unsuspecting developers to bite.
Okay, so a developer downloads and installs this thing. What happens next? Let's pop the hood, look inside the code, and follow the breadcrumbs to see what these attackers were really planning. So the extension is designed to be super simple and, you'd think, effective. The moment VS Code starts up, boom, the malicious code runs automatically. Its only job? To call home to a remote server, grab a configuration file, and then run whatever payload that file tells it to. Pretty standard stuff for malware, right? Well, not quite.
Yeah, because when investigators actually dug in and took a closer look, the entire plan just started to unravel in this really weird way. What's so wild about this next part is the total disconnect between what the malware was supposed to do and what it was actually told to do.
Okay, this right here is the heart of the whole mess. The code itself, the JavaScript, is written to look for specific instructions. It's looking for keys named .exe and .dll to find the URLs it needs to download the bad stuff. But, and this is the crazy part, the configuration file it gets back from the server, it doesn't have those keys at all. Instead, it just has this random list of file names. It's exactly like sending someone to a library with the wrong call number. They know the name of the book, but they have absolutely no idea where to find it on the shelves.
So what's the result of this total mismatch? Well, the variable that's supposed to hold the download link just ends up as undefined. So the code tries to download from a URL of, well, nothing, and the download fails. But here's the kicker. It's all wrapped up in an error handler that literally does nothing. It just swallows the error. So the main attack just breaks, fizzles out, and dies without leaving a single trace.
So you'd think a sophisticated attacker would have a plan B, right? A fallback? Well, this malware did have backup options, but honestly, they were just as confusing and completely non-functional. Let's take a look at how those played out.
I mean, look at this. Every single path here leads to a dead end. It's almost comical. One fallback tries to download a perfectly legitimate signed copy of VS Code, the very program it's already running inside of. Another one grabs this tiny little file that's basically empty and does nothing. And then there's this run.bat script, which could be dangerous, but it's just left sitting there, completely orphaned. No other piece of code ever calls it. It's just there.
Okay, so even though the extension was a total train wreck, researchers were able to piece together what the attackers were trying to do. And that plan, it was way more sophisticated than the broken code would ever lead you to believe.
The real payload they were aiming for was Screen Connect. Now, this is a totally legitimate remote access tool, a RAT, that IT departments use all the time. And that's exactly why hackers love it. Because it's a known, trusted, signed piece of software, it can often just waltz right past security software, giving attackers complete, unfettered control over a victim's machine.
And how are they going to deliver it? They plan to use a classic, but super effective, technique called DLL hijacking. The basic idea is simple. You trick a trusted application into loading your malicious code instead of the real code it was looking for.
And this slide just lays out the intended attack beautifully. It's actually pretty clever. A trusted program, like VS Code itself, starts up and goes to load a standard system file it needs. But because the attacker has placed their malicious version of that file in the same folder, the program finds and loads that one first. That fake DLL then acts as a little secret downloader, quietly installing the real payload, Screen Connect, and handing the keys to the kingdom over to the attackers.
So, let's recap. We've got a really smart, sophisticated plan, but a completely busted delivery system. You'd think the story would end right there. But nope, it has one more bizarre, almost unbelievable twist.
So the attackers actually released an update, version 3.0. Now, you'd probably expect them to fix all their broken code, right? To finally get the malware working. But instead of fixing it, they just removed it. The whole thing. All the malicious functions, the scripts that went nowhere, every last bit of it, gone.
It's exactly like the researchers said. They took the malware out of the malware. So think about that. This supposedly malicious extension all of a sudden became totally harmless. It's a baffling move. Why go to all that trouble, fail so badly at it, and then just clean up your own mess and walk away? It just makes the whole mystery even deeper.
Okay, let's just lay out what we know for sure. The attackers had a solid, sophisticated plan using a powerful rat and a clever DLL hijacking trick. But the delivery mechanism, the VS Code extension, was a complete and utter failure. And then, in the weirdest move of all, they pushed an update that basically abandoned the entire project.
And that leaves us with the big, unanswered question at the heart of this whole investigation. What are we actually looking at here? Was this just the work of some amateur hackers trying to copy a more advanced threat and just failing spectacularly? Or, and this is a more chilling thought, are we just seeing the very first, very broken test of a much larger campaign that's still being developed and fine-tuned behind the scenes? The evidence just doesn't say, and for now, the answer remains a complete mystery.